We currently live in an era where thousands of games are released a year on the Switch eShop. It's much different than it was back in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, where you'd actually have to go to a store in order to buy games. There were the rare exceptions with the Satellaview in Japan and the Sega Channel, but for the most part, every video game was produced physically on a cartridge. Having a digital storefront like the eShop has made it a gazillion times easier for developers to actually distribute their games to the public, which is partially why we see so many more games released today than we did way back then. Now, having a digital game is all well and good. It's nice for portability. If you lose the cartridge, you can always re-download the game. But in my opinion, nothing beats having a physical copy of a game. You have something tangible that you can put on the shelf and display, or you can easily lend it to a friend so that way they can play it. Or if you're in a pinch and you need a few extra bucks, you can maybe sell the game or trade it with somebody on the internet for something else that you actually want. But most importantly, theoretically, the game should last you your entire life. Now, not every digital game deserves its own physical release, but companies like Limited Run Games, I Am 8-Bit, and Super Rare Games have been doing their best to kind of weed through the eShop and pick the best titles. And they've been working with developers and publishers to actually print physical copies of their games, which not only creates a nice package for collectors and fans of the games, it also immortalizes them in physical form in case if they ever get pulled from the eShop, which is exactly what we're here to talk about today. I'm Zian from Nintendo Life, and today we're here to discuss Nintendo's decision to make digital games like Super Mario 3D All-Stars, Super Mario Bros. 35, and Jump Rope Challenge limited time only downloads, and why it's just bad for everyone. Super Mario 3D All-Stars wasn't really a big surprise for most of the world. It's been rumored for quite a while now, but the thing that was sort of a shock was the fact that the game was going to be released physically and digitally in limited supply from September 18th of 2020 to March 31st of 2021. Then it's going to be taken off digital shelves, and apparently it's not going to be made available on store shelves either. Now, this isn't as odd of an idea as you would think. Nintendo has done some things like this in the past, like the re-release of Super Mario All-Stars on the Wii, which released in the holiday of 2010. It was eventually re-released? Is that how you'd say that? As a Nintendo Select title for the Wii a few years later, Nintendo also treated the anniversary edition of The Legend of Zelda 4 Swords in a similar manner, releasing it as a free downloadable DSiWare title in 2011 and then pulling it off of the shelves in 2012. But then they re-released it a few years later in 2014 for a whopping 4 days before pulling it back off of the digital shelves. I understand it was they were making an event about it, but why for 4 days? Thankfully, anyone who still has the game downloaded now can still play it, but anyone who wants to jump in on the co-op Zelda action on DSi is left without options. Jump Rope Challenge is also facing its end date on Switch as well, as the game was originally made available back in June of this year and won't be available past September 30th of 2020. Granted, the game is and has been always free, it makes us wonder why Nintendo would pull a perfectly functional game just off the Switch store shelves just for no reason. Super Mario Bros. 35, the upcoming Battle Royale platformer, is going to be available for Nintendo Switch Online users from October 1st of 2020 until March 31st of 2021. But what makes this even less appetizing than a kiss from Birdo is the fact that the game's servers are also going to be shut down, meaning that you won't actually be able to play the game after that end date. So I feel like I shouldn't have to explain why this is bad for basically everyone at this point, but here's the deal. Video games are rarely just a cash grab. People pour their blood, sweat, and tears into them to express themselves, to give us something to enjoy. And for a company to just Nintendo Switch snap them away like Thanos, it feels bad. It feels really bad. Look at games like Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. That game is finally coming out because of its 10th anniversary, but it was pulled off of store shelves because of some licensing dispute. The demo for Silent Hills on PlayStation 4, PT, was also pulled off of store shelves. And that's one that you can't even re-download if you already have purchased the free demo. If you delete it from your system, you can just never play it again. And there's also the Doc Lewis Punch-Out minigame thing that was released with Club Nintendo years back. Okay, people don't really freak out about that one too much, but still, you get the point. It's bad for game preservation, and it's also kind of just bad for the consumer. Imagine a pair of children, right? You have Billy and Sarah, and Sarah goes over to Billy's house and plays Super Mario Sunshine and Super Mario 64 on his Nintendo Switch, his family Switch, right? And she loves the game so much, and she comes home and tells her parents all about it, that she wants to get this game, you know, she dreams of getting this. But turns out this is September of 2021 and the game's no longer available for sale. Now Sarah can only play it at her friend's house, or she has to go on eBay with her mom and pay astronomical prices to get a copy of the game, and that's so un-Nintendo. Nintendo is for the family, and this decision just doesn't make any sense. It's understandable when a limited edition supply of accessories or video games even come out and Nintendo stops producing them because they need to open up their warehouses to produce other things. That all makes sense. But for them to just pull the game digitally doesn't add up. Why would they do that? Unfortunately, and realistically, it's probably all just for marketing. Making each of these titles a limited release adds some urgency for people to go out and get them. Or in the case of Super Mario Bros. 35 and Jump Rope Challenge, maybe it'll convince someone to buy a Switch sooner than later because they wanted to play those games. Now, I can't honestly see someone throwing down $300 just to buy a Switch so they can get Jump Rope Challenge before it disappears off the internet forever. But you never know. I was a kid once. I could have used that as an argument. Leaning on all the evidence we've seen in the past with games like Super Mario All-Stars and The Legend of Zelda 4 Swords Anniversary Edition, we'll probably see these games come back at some time or another. Maybe Jump Rope Challenge will come back with even more content and it'll have a little price tag of $4.99 tied to it. Maybe Super Mario Bros. 35 will come back every anniversary for Mario. Next year it'll be Super Mario Bros. 36, 37, 38, and so forth. That'd be ridiculous, but maybe it would turn into a yearly thing where you can only play it during this month or these few weeks. That probably won't happen, but maybe. And for Nintendo to just not re-release these games would not really make any sense. We expect that they're probably going to re-release them on the eShop and charge a little bit more for them to sort of reward everyone who went ahead and bought it early. But maybe they'll sell each of them for $30 a pop or something like that. Only time will tell. Feel free to let us know in the comments down below what you think of this whole limited time only digital release thing Nintendo is doing a lot of lately, it seems. I personally don't like it. I think it's bad business. I think it's bad for the consumer. I just don't understand it. But I'm not everyone, so I'd love to hear what you think about the situation. And even though this video was a little down in the dumps, if you enjoyed it or appreciated it in some form or another, and you want to see more videos like this, then why don't you go ahead and click that subscribe button before it disappears off the internet forever. And then ring the notification bell for a little alert whenever we put up a new video. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm ZM from Nintendo Life. Stay safe out there, and we will see you next time. Oh hey, you're still there! If you're looking for something else to watch, we actually have our review of Super Mario All-Stars 3D up over here in the corner. Or maybe it's going to be over here. I don't know which side we'll put it on. Or you can find out why we thought Super Mario Galaxy 2 didn't make the cut for this collection. Wahoo!